have a lot of young economic developers coming up in the trenches. I don't know why. They're following in our footsteps.
I know.
But
They've tried everything else.
They've tried everything else. So for the young economic developers, what advice would you give them to talk to a legislator? To get the priorities, again, how do you get on their radar? What's your advice?
This is actually very easy, and if they'll all do exactly this, it'll go a long way.
Okay, take note.
So I'll put it. I think of a lot of things in the lens of insurance because that's the world I live in. So I don't go buy home insurance when my house is on fire. That's the worst time to try to do it because it's not going to work. And a lot of times folks, they say, oh my goodness, here's this piece of legislation that's moving. I need to go find, who's my legislator? Oh, here's who it is. Let me go meet them and try to make it. That doesn't work out for anyone. So the first step is the simple step. Know who your legislators are. Actually know their names, know their cell numbers, know their email addresses, know who they are. The next step is always developing those relationships ahead of time. You can't, when the house is on fire, it's too late. So you got to get out, know the legislators early on, develop a relationship with them. And I always encourage, in your first interaction with a legislator, don't talk about policy. Talk about sports. Talk about life. Talk about vacation. Where are you going? Just talk about anything other than that. And in the relationship. The relationship. It's all about building the relationship first. Then you can't just do it one time. It's constantly trying to maintain that to where you want to get it to the point where, and I have this with Chris, and I hope he would tell you this. If Chris calls me, I answer the phone.
Oh,
he doesn't go to voicemail because we've developed a relationship. Because I know he's not just calling me to ask me to do something else. It's not the house isn't on fire or anything. But then maybe that third call or fourth call, the house is on fire, and we need to get something done. And the call still gets answered. So developing that relationship ahead of time is uber important, and more importantly, very easy.
Yes.
It's very easy.
It's also good to receive that picture of a dead tiger when Chapel Hill beats Clemson in basketball. I also get to look and enjoy those texts.
Yeah. And I've got one now that's got the ram smiling.
Oh.
So I'll send that out every now and again.
I have sent a skull of a goat.
Yeah, you have. And they like to call it a goat instead of a ram.
Of course. Just
But
that's the relation. That's that relationship.
Sure.
That we can do that.
Right.
And then
every touch doesn't need to be business. I would say the majority of touches don't need to be business. And that way you get that relationship, but it has to be maintained. It can't just be a one-time set it up and you're done. Constantly. Now your legislator does not want to hear from you every day. They don't want to hear from you every day, but at least check in and touch. And I think it's also incumbent upon a good legislator will reach out to their county managers, their economic developers, the different community leaders that are to also, because I think they have an obligation as well to maintain their side.
Well, and we are should be the subject matter expert, right? And so when something comes up for you guys and you need a legitimate answer, is that relationship's there so you can call. So what do you think about that?
Sure. And I've done that.
Yes, you have. Absolutely. David Willis have, and Dean. And so we've had that wonderful opportunity to sit there and say, is this good or bad from y'all's perspective? We're hearing this. What do y'all say?
Regardless of the subject matter that the member is in, they cannot be professionals at everything. So I tell the story during the thick of session. In an hour's time, you'll have 8 meetings on 8 different subjects that last 7 minutes each. And you can always tell the ones that have been around the game a long time because they'll bring you one sheet, 3 bullet points, one-sided, and then the others bring you a stack of stuff this big. That goes in. Don't do that.
Okay.
Bring single sheet, one-sided, bullet points. When you get more than about 3 or 4 bullet points, you're going to lose it. There's just no time. And so we can't be professionals at everything. You're getting hit with one meeting on utilities, education, economic development, parks, library. I mean, you're getting all these things. And so it's drinking from a fire hydrant. It needs to be quick to the eye to look. And having that relationship ahead of time gets you in the door a lot faster.
Well, is there anything else that you think we need to know before we start?
Glad I ran into you.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think
glad Jason stood you.
Yeah, that's right. It worked out well. But no, next year's going to be an exciting year for North Carolina. So going into next year, I think we have an opportunity. And so with kind of the downturn as we are, everybody's forecasting, and with inflation, it's not necessarily a negative. It's an opportunity for us to be nimble and to actually come and make some changes that, COVID, you think about COVID, it was a bad deal for the state, but look at what we gained from it with the connectivity and we got the broadband and we got all these things working. And so it's not necessarily negative. It's just different.
Right.
And so how do we get acclimated to that and always be forward thinking? Because there's going to be another event of some sort, and it'll make us stronger by preparing for that. So.
Anything else we should pass on to our colleagues in the economic development world?
I think we've hit on the fact that developing these relationships early and often is uber important, but also maintaining relationships with your locals, your local municipalities and local boards, because a lot of the folks in the state legislature also once served there. They still have relationships there, and the state can't do it by itself. The locals can't do it by itself. Maintaining that connectivity between the two, and so always be communicating.
Yeah.
Even if it's a bad news, always be communicating, because in the end it works out best in life.
ABC. Always be communicating. Look at that. Easy
Little
to remember. Easy to remember. We want you to remember our priorities. Focus on product development for all 100 counties. We want to focus on workforce, making sure that our people are taken care of. And then we really want to focus on those policies that will be friendly to both the product piece and the workforce piece.
That sounded like a single sheet of paper, one side with 3 bullet points.
Look at that. I was listening.
That's why she's chair of the legislature.
That is exactly why.
That's the way to do it. Bullet pointed out, and in that way we can grow from there.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. It was good running into you.
Nice to see you.